A really good day today. Just finished a wonderful chat with Dan Evans, who's an Australian coach with 24 years experience. He's worked as a coach, a head coach, a technical director, a coach developer for the Football Federation of Australia. He's really got some good experience, some good heritage, I'd say. He's worked in America, he's worked in Australia, and it was a very, very short but effective, useful chat with him where he told me about the coach education structure in Australia, the youth system in Australia, and a lot more. So tune in. Right, so today we have Dan Evans with us, an Australian coach. He's been in the industry coaching for the last 24 years. He's held positions as a head coach, as a technical director, as a tutor, as an educator, as a developer. So, Dan, why don't we hear from you? What's your journey been like since the start till now?
Thanks, Ryan. Look, I guess I had a love for coaching at an early age. My first love was playing, and unfortunately, I had to retire at 25. But even before that, when I was in the youth teams at my club, I still coached and helped out with the teams sort of at the ages less than mine. So yeah, I've had a history for a long time. I did my first team at 25. I sort of got lucky, I guess. Not everyone gets that opportunity. And since then, I've been coaching full time. I've spent time in Australia and the US, and currently back in Australia, coaching a club called Morley Windmills. And aside from that, I've just started my own academy called Galaxy Football. So pretty busy with it all.
So now you've added to another role, which is as an entrepreneur. That's good. Now you have mentioned about Australia. Now I wanted to understand what's the coach education structure like in Australia, right from entry level all the way till the pro license.
Okay, they've just they're rolling out some changes in this capacity. The first step though is now a foundation of football. So that really brings together um, everyone in the football community, regardless of your background. You have to complete the foundation of football course, and that might be as far as people go in their journey, which is fine. But then from there, if you want to progress, there's the C diploma, the B diploma, the A, and then the professional license.
And is there any kind of difference? I mean, what are the differences in the teaching right from, as you progress every qualification?
I just think the level of detail increases. So hopefully on the foundation of football course, you understand, or your knowledge of football increases. You've got a good understanding of the rules, and then hopefully you get to a point where you're comfortable starting to design a session plan, and understanding what's relevant for the particular target that you're going to be working with.
Fair enough. Right? Just the complexity increases basically. And now, as an educator, I'm sure you've assessed, as a developer, you've assessed a lot of coaches, a lot of candidates. Now, I'm sure a lot of coaches, when it comes to their assessment, they feel a bit nervous. They feel the
Yeah,
pressure to perform. So, what are your thoughts on people getting pressurized to the extent that they may not be their genuine self when they do their session?
I think previously we were in a place where the coach education assessments were done on camera, so you actually had the opportunity to film your own assessment, and that really takes a lot of the nerves away from it, because if you weren't happy with your assessment, you could obviously redo it. Now, the coach education, we're encouraging it all to be live and at the course. I guess all I would say to candidates, and it's natural to be nervous, but hopefully, they can put themselves in a position where they do it. If they're not quite competent yet, then as coach developers, it's our job to try and get them to the competency level. So I guess it's a bit different from the old school way of doing it, whether it was a strict pass or fail.
Yeah.
Now you're either competent, or if you're not competent, again, it's our job to get you there.
And is there any particular reason why they have shifted from doing it on camera to actually live on the course?
I mean, I don't know the actual reason, but I'm assuming that one of them was because they found out that a lot of people weren't finalising their assessments. So whether it was too challenging for them to organise a camera to film it, I'm not sure. But I think obviously doing the assessment on course means everyone at least gets an opportunity to be assessed.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Now, I also wanted to know, because you've been in Australia for so long and you've worked in the youth setup as well. What's the Australian youth football structure like? Are there any best practices that other federations can take inspiration from?
Look, I think we're quite unique, and the size of the country makes it so. So it's very challenging to get the best youth players playing with the best youth players consistently.
Yeah.
You know, if I take Perth Glory, for example, that's the local professional club in Western Australia. For them to play an away game, it's a 3.5 hour flight.
Yeah.
So that just gives you a bit of an example of the size of the country. As far as best practices go, you know, I think we need the best youth coaches working with the best youth players as often as possible. You know, and I don't think we're any different from any other associations in that respect.
Similar to where I'm from, India, the size of the country. And you
Mm.
mentioned in another interview that you'd like to see a clearer pathway for players from regional areas of Australia. So, what does a clearer pathway look like for you?
I think just having unified programs. So where possible, if we can replicate what we're doing in metro areas in the regional areas, and then obviously have somewhere to go for those regional players that excel in those various programs. You know, you don't want to have it convoluted with different pathways, different programs, particularly in the regional areas where the population isn't as large as the metro areas. You know, you can't afford to get it wrong. So yeah, I think if we had similar programs, or as I mentioned, if we were able to replicate metro programs in regional areas where possible, I think that would help.
Got it. Yeah, ma'am. I mean, you've been in the youth setup, so I wanted to continue with another one, and this is the most interesting question I have for you, I believe. So, you
Right.
founded the academy for Murdoch University, Melville City FC. Now, I'm intrigued to know what kind of structure you set in place, because I assume that you're the first. I mean, you've been the main person to actually start an academy for a club.
Yeah, look, I mean, I was the head coach of that club, and then in my second year, I thought, look, it was a massive community club, which obviously helped. So they had the foundations already in place, but they didn't have the best kids playing with the best kids. So if they were going to produce any players in their first team, it was almost by fluke. You know, there was limited, if any, community coaches, qualified coaches. You know, there was a lot of volunteers and good volunteers, which the game needs. But what I introduced was, and because I had the power of doing it, is I ran some internal coach licenses. I helped us appoint a technical director who could do the same. We had the better kids playing with the better kids at the best level possible, and of course that was just the foundation. I didn't really stay around at that particular club to see it all through, but I know now they're reaping the rewards, and I guess that's not 100% down to me by any means. You know, they've had good people come in and take over, but I suppose from a coaching perspective, all you can do is hopefully leave the job in a better position than you found it. and obviously wish them well and every success from that point.
And did you scout? Did you have a scouting system in place? How did you do your recruitment for the academy?
Oh, look, it was purely internally based. When we sort of advertised that that's what we were doing, obviously some players naturally were attracted to the club, but it's in a competitive area where there's a few National Premier League clubs, in not too far away from them. So yeah, we also did a couple of sessions in schools where we possibly recruited from. But as I mentioned, it was such a large community club that I thought everything they needed was there. It just needed some structure.
Something similar to what I do over here. That's good to hear. Now, you've also worked as a futsal coach. Now,
Yeah.
your entire life you've been in football. So, were there any major differences? What was the experience like coaching in futsal?
Look, I'm definitely a football coach that does a little bit of futsal rather than a futsal coach. There's no differences from the perspective that you've got to be relevant to the particular environment that you're in. I did youth futsal coaching, so we're still working on core skills. We're still introducing systems of play and that sort of thing. And obviously the systems are different from the outdoor game, but the core skills, with a couple of exceptions, are pretty similar. So from that respect, it wasn't a difficult transition. But as I mentioned, I'm definitely a football coach that does a little bit of futsal in his spare time whenever that is.
But were there any challenges at all in coaching futsal?
I certainly look. I coached a couple of teams at the national championship, and no doubt came up against far more experienced futsal coaches, in that particular environment. So yeah, we faced, it was challenging, but I tried to take in as much as possible and read up on it and observe other futsal sessions. So hopefully, I was still delivering good practices.
I'm sure with your experience, I'm sure you are quick to adapt. Now, what are your future plans? Because you have spent some time in the America, in America, and you have spent most of your time in Australia. Are you looking at any particular nation, any particular continent? What's your plan for the future?
I don't have it mapped out 100%. My as much as I love coaching in juniors, and I'll continue to do that. My passion is first team coaching or first team management. I've just accepted a job at Morley Windmills. We start pre-season tomorrow, actually. So I'm 100% focused on that project, and then who knows from there. Look, I've spent a little bit of time in Southeast Asia when we've had tournaments and that sort of thing, and I like that. Each country's different, but I like that environment. So I'd happily head there at some point. But then India's obviously such a huge place and an emerging nation from a football perspective that I'd happily come and spend some time there as well. And I know a colleague of mine's there at the moment, and he's loving it. So who knows, that might be one next journey.
Let's hope you can make the move to India soon, but I'm sure you're going to excel in whatever you do. And just before I let you go, now you've come with so many years of experience in having so many positions, holding so many positions. So, what's your advice to any upcoming coaches, all the coaches who are listening in?
Yeah, look, I'd just say for anyone that's keen on coaching or is currently coaching, I think spend time being a student of the game. That sounds quite cliche, but watching games, talking to people about football, watching sessions, looking at session plans, and then there's the formal part of things. Going on licenses definitely helped me as well, and not just for the course content, but for the time you spend with other coaches, often who may be more experienced than you. So yeah, there's a couple of things, and I wish everyone the best on their journey.
This was brilliant. This was a short and sweet interview, but a lot of things to take, useful stuff that you have said. And I really wish you all the best for for the new role that you've taken as coaching the senior men's team. And yes, it's been fantastic. Thank you for agreeing to do this on at such a short notice. Appreciate
No,
it.
anytime, Ryan.
Yeah. Thank you.